welcome to another installment of 10 great games that won't break the bank. This episode is Sega Genesis. I'm Nintenjoel, and so I'm just going to get started, and basically, you know the premise. These are just 10 games that I think kick ass and generally cost less than about $20. Now, of course, you might have shipping costs too, but I mean, you know, whatever. Generally, these games go for about 15, 20, or maybe even some of these are even lower. But yeah, most of these games are 10 to 20 bucks. And there are some really good games for the Sega Genesis. I never really started playing a lot of Genesis until a couple years ago. And really recently I started finding some games that were really surprisingly good that weren't very expensive at all. And one of my favorites is the last one I'm going to show, and it's so freaking good. So anyways, let's just get to it. So the first one I have for you, and kind of the surprise about this list for Genesis as opposed to like Super Nintendo or like PlayStation, which I think I'm going to do in the future, or a lot of systems, is that surprisingly there were quite a few RPGs that were available, or RPG type-ish games that you can get for a fairly decent price on Genesis. So get those while you can. Some of them are bordering on $20 and are going to go up probably from there. But anyways, this is one of them, and my cart's a little messed up, but this is Beyond Oasis for Genesis, and this game generally retails for like 10, 12 bucks, and it is an overhead action RPG, and no joke, it's very similar to Legend of Zelda. The graphics aren't similar to Legend of Zelda, and the fighting style is not, but just actual gameplay mechanics is kind of similar. I haven't played a lot of this game, but as I said, I just started playing Genesis not too horribly long ago, and I have a lot of games to play for a lot of systems. But yeah, that one caught my interest for sure, and you know, for such a cheap price, how can you go wrong with an action RPG that's actually a pretty beloved game, too? If you look at reviews, people really like this game. So definitely check out Beyond Oasis. Highly recommend that one. The second one is a game that I never actually played or even knew existed, because I didn't really know much about the Genesis until probably like a year ago is when I got this, maybe a little over. But I was never into the Bomberman games when I was growing up, and I found a new love for Bomberman for sure. This one, Mega Bomberman for Genesis, and just the original Bomberman for NES are really fun games, and I'm really starting to get into them a lot. Mega Bomberman, though, so far is my favorite of the lot. I'm not really sure why. I just was instantly drawn to that game when I started playing it. So, and that one's definitely less than 20 bucks. I think that one retails for, I want to say 12 to 16 bucks, something like that. Like I said, you might have to pay shipping if you're going to buy it online. But you can sometimes find these games in game stores. I actually just saw Mega Bomberman recently in a game store for a decent price. So, anyways, okay, so the third game that I have for you guys is something that I have loved since I was a teenager. Since I lived in California, which was a long time ago. I've lived in Oregon a lot longer than I've lived in California. But that's how long I've loved this game. But the Super Nintendo version is the one that I always played. I was surprised to find that, as far as I can tell, the Lost Vikings for Sega Genesis is pretty much exactly the same on the Genesis as it is the Super Nintendo, and I'm totally fine with that. I love Lost Vikings. It is really, really fun. You play as 3 Vikings, and each Viking has his own kind of ability. One dude can run and jump. One dude has a shield, and he can block with that shield, or he can put it on top of his head, and people can stand on his head. He can block fireballs with the shield, all kinds of stuff. And the third guy is the weapons guy, and he has a sword for close-range combat and bow and arrow for long-range combat. Now, you have to use all 3 of these guys in conjunction with each other to make it to an exit at every level, and there are tons of levels, and it's kind of a puzzle game because you have to get all 3 to the end of the level. If you don't, you pretty much have to start over. So, yeah, Lost Vikings is a very interesting game. If you've never played this game, I cannot recommend it enough. Oh, and it's got humor, too, and really cool music. Just an all-around great game. Yeah, if you've never played, Lost Vikings is amazing. That's all I gotta say. Generally, $10 to $12, you know. So, next one is one that I really, you know, I love Final Fight for Super Nintendo. I was always a Super Nintendo guy, and I used to play that one in the arcade, so I have a really fond place in my heart for Final Fight. But, yeah, how can you go wrong with Streets of Rage 2, or any of the Streets of Rage games? So far, this is the only one I own, but it looks like the other two are pretty badass as well. But Streets of Rage 2 totally kicks ass. It's got amazing music. It's got really cool, flashy graphics for the Genesis, and kind of shows off what the Genesis can do. Definitely dig that game a lot. And this one's not too expensive either. But anyways, it's just a side-scrolling beat-em-up game, and yeah, a very fun one at that. So the next game I have for you guys is... Let's move these over so I have room for some of these. The heaviest game I have in my collection. This thing weighs a ton. This is a Starflight for Genesis, and this manual is ridiculous. It is a freaking book. It is gigantic. It has 143 pages. That's crazy. And this game is crazy as well. It's really cool, but it definitely is going to occupy a lot of your time if you're going to try to get into it and try to get really far in it. Starflight is a space exploration game where you can visit planets and mine them via a little vehicle on the ground, and you can use your spaceship to go to other systems and fight with other things and just get resources and upgrade stuff, and it's really cool. I love this game, and I cannot wait to play a ton of this game. And I'm not exactly sure on price. I want to say 15 or less on Starflight, but yeah, very good game. Highly recommended. Here's another RPG for you guys. Like I said, kind of surprising, Genesis has so many good RPGs that are at a decent price. This one is Sword of Vermilion, and I would classify this as kind of an action RPG as well. What's interesting about this is the many different camera views. There's kind of a first-person perspective at some point. There's a side-scrolling perspective at one point. When you're in towns, it's overhead. It's got a lot of variety, and it's not the best RPG I've ever played by any stretch of the imagination. But that being said, for the almost $20 that this goes for, I believe it could be 15. It's totally worth it. It's a really fun game, and one that I plan on spending a bit of time with in the future. I want to play some more Genesis games and beat them, so that one's on my list. And Starflight, I don't even know if you can beat that game, but that one's on my list as well. So the next game I have for you guys was a surprise to me. I knew I was going to like it because it was Shinobi. I did not have any idea how good these graphics were going to be on Genesis. I always thought that the Super Nintendo was superior on graphics and that Genesis was just lacking a little bit, but as I have come to watch some shows like Console Wars, actually, and oh god, there's another couple guys that compare Sega and Nintendo games, and their names not coming to mind right now. But anyways, since I've been watching their shows, it's really shown me that the Genesis has a lot more power than I thought it did, and it's capable of very good things. Now, I'm going to say this, and maybe some Sega fans are going to hate me for it, but I definitely think that overall the Super Nintendo had better sound. But with games like Shinobi 3, the graphics are amazing. They are so good. The colors are so bright, and there's such a good palette of colors that it just looks different from a Super Nintendo game. And yeah, Super Nintendo's my favorite console, so it's kind of hard to say that. But yeah, Shinobi 3's graphics and gameplay, just everything about it blew me away. And this game's not very expensive either. I think it's only like $10 or something like that. This game is amazing. I cannot recommend that one enough. You guys all know what Shinobi is. It's a side-scrolling platformer. You're a ninja, and it kicks ass. It's just a lot of fun. Yeah, totally stoked about that game. Glad I have it. This one I heard very good things about, and for some reason it's very cheap. I don't know if people just don't like it or what, but I like it a lot. I like games that have isometric views, and Light Crusader is one of those games. It's got the overhead kind of perspective, but it's isometric. And I haven't played it a lot, but I really did like it. I like the quirky sound effects, and it's a really neat like action RPG. It's just an interesting, odd angle on an action RPG. It's just totally different from anything I've really played as an RPG, although I hear Landstalker is kind of similar, so let me know what you guys think of Landstalker, because I've been wanting to pick that one up as well. But yeah, Light Crusader is very cheap. Get it now while you can. I can't believe how cheap some of these good games are. Okay, now this one is one of the ones that does border on not being in this list. I was actually surprised when I looked it up, but everywhere I did find it, a card only. You could get a card only for less than 20 bucks, but it was like 18, 19 bucks, and then of course you're gonna have a few bucks for shipping. But yeah, for sure, this is probably one of my, not even probably, is one of my favorite games here, and that's Shining Force for Genesis. And the current game I'm still trying to beat, but I haven't really been playing much lately because I've been really busy at work. But yeah, Shining Force is a game that is, well, it's a tactical RPG, and it's pretty much responsible with Final Fantasy Tactics Advance as being the games that actually got me into tactical RPGs. I haven't really played a lot of them yet, but I own a few and definitely plan on playing them. Shining Force is just great. It's just everything about it. The old school feel, the simplicity of it. It makes it easy to learn how to play a game like that as opposed to like a turn-based RPG. Very highly recommended. I really liked it a lot. So anyways, what we have for the last one is my favorite by far, and I just picked this up. In fact, you guys are getting a preview because this is actually on a pickup video that is future from now, unless I decide to maybe switch the videos up. I guess we'll see, but for you purists, you can actually pay attention, and here's an inconsistency for you. I haven't actually put this in my pickup video yet, but here's a complete copy of Strider that I just got recently, and I've been wanting this for a very, very long time. Strider for NES is just not the same as Strider for Genesis. Strider for Genesis has really nice graphics and just good gameplay, a lot more similar to the arcade than the NES version. And of course, because the Genesis had so much more power than the NES, the Genesis was on par with the Super Nintendo. So of course, Strider for Genesis is definitely going to be a step ahead of the NES version. But anyways, yeah, that game is, I think, like 15 or 16 bucks right now. Sometimes you can even find it for less, but I have the feeling that that one's going to climb up in value. One thing to mention, Strider did get a re-release on some of the digital, like Xbox Live, I think. I think it was on the Xbox 360. I don't know, I don't play any of the new games or any of the new consoles, but Johnny Millennium on his channel showed the new Strider. Him and Robman were playing it on the Happy Console Gamer, and they showed just a little bit of screenshots. Oh my god, I hope it comes to Steam. I hope it comes to Steam so bad, because Strider, the remake, is like the Genesis version, just times 10. The graphics are fucking incredible. Mind-blowing. So, yeah, that's pretty much all I have for you guys. That is, that's pretty much it. What I do want to leave you with what I do want to leave you with this time is the fact that some of these games, while being cheap right now, are going to rise in value. I know that for a fact. Sword of Vermilion, Shining Force, and Strider. These three games, get right away if you possibly can, because I know for a fact these are going to raise up a little bit of value. They have been slowly and steadily, and I have a feeling they're going to jump up a lot because some Genesis games are going up. Anyways, that's all I do have for you guys, though. That's 10 games that I think kick ass, that are great, that are less than 20 bucks. So what do you guys think of this video? Do you have any of these games? Do you like these games? Did I convince you to buy any of these games? Leave a comment below, and if you liked the video, please give a thumbs up. And if you want to see more videos, and please give those thumbs up, you can subscribe down below. And that's all I have for you guys. Keep rocking retro games. Thanks.